It is indeed fortunate that Tyagaraja has left to posterity, apart from his legendary musical output, his intimate philosophical musings also. There may be people who insist that musical compositions are mere musical compositions and not poetry. They are free to nurse their fancy notion that music is to be evaluated exclusively on the basis of the dhatus, and about the literary content, the less said, the better. This philosophy, unfortunately, can do little justice to the beauty of the compositions of master minds like Tyagaraja and Dikshita. In the case of Tyagaraja, who documented his turbulent lyrical and spiritual mindscape through his intense musical outpourings, the lyrical outpourings are as intense as their musical manifestations. Fortunately, thousands of connoisseurs of music having some literary ingenuity, continue to be sensitive to the message he sought to convey through his compositions. Though it will be unjust to separate the dhatu from the madhu, which is the organic whole, which constitutes his musical legacy. Both of them are actually complementary to each other. If we analyze the thought content of Tyagaraja's compositions, one important point which will strike to our mind is his self-reflexive thought. Here, he ponders over his own devotion, his life, his attitude to music, etc. He thinks about himself. He thinks about his inner world. Here we learn about the travails and torments Tyagaraja had to undergo in his quest of the ultimate reality. Mystics all over the world describe such experiences as the dark night of the soul. And this is largely true in the case of many of the compositions of Tyagaraja. From all this, we can see that the life of Tyagaraja was not a path strewn with roses all the way. He had a lot of disappointments, he had self-doubt, he had agonies which tortured his soul. Often, he is filled with distress. He is very much upset at the selfishness and greed of human beings. He often quarrels with even his Ishtadevada, Rama. He makes complaints to him. He always asks the question, why are you not showing your mercy on me? Then he sometimes muses over the human nature, the inherent weaknesses of the human nature. And sometimes he also speaks about music itself. What is music to him? From such many compositions, we can understand how Tyagaraja looked at music. The most philosophical aspect of his thought actually centers around his reflections about music. Here, he clarifies what music means to him and what in his lofty concept fall short of his ideals. And this is a recurring motif in Tyagaraja's compositions. Therefore, such compositions deserve our close analysis. So a full appreciation of Tyagaraja will not be possible if we leave aside the philosophical deliberations which are contained in the musical compositions. Tyagaraja has spoken about actually the A to Z of music. He refers to Kriti or Kirtana in his famous song Sogasuga Mridanga Talamu. So Kriti is as conceived by Tyagaraja. According to the eminent musicologist Dr. V. Raghavan, they expound the true words of the exalted Upanishads. That's very interesting. They are marked by the correct placement of swaras. That is also very important. In Nada Yoga, the correct placement of swaras is of utmost importance. Then rhythmic turns, pauses, etc. And a kriti reflects the true devotion and detachment, what is called vairagya by Tyagaraja. And the kritis are rich in all the 9 rasas. They are like grapes rich in juice, according to Tyagaraja. Then there is another piece which is also self-reflective, which also deals with Tyagaraja's lofty concept of music. That is the famous Shankarabharana piece, Swararaga Sudha Yuta Bhakti. Here, the Tyagaraja has composed it as like an inner monologue to his own mind. He always fondly calls O Manasa. Here he records that he possesses the deep knowledge of Swararnava imparted by Lord Shiva to Parvati. And he declares that music is not simply a means of salvation. It is salvation itself. Because the realization of the principle of nada originating from the Mooladhara creates the supreme bliss. That is the reason why he equates music combined with devotion, Swararaga Sudha Yuta Bhakti, with both Swarga, heaven, and Apavarga, salvation. Here he also makes some comments on vulgar musicians as cranes and frogs, Baka Pekamu, who sit on the lotus of supreme bliss without knowing what it is. There is another piece, Maryaga Dura, another Shankarabharana piece. Shankarabharana he uses profusely for such musings. He here refers to some Bhagavadas who do not have real knowledge of raga and tala, on one hand, technically, and more importantly, no love and devotion, and no knowledge, no yogic practice. Such people are condemned to be born again and again, according to him. And such a concept of music, a spiritual outlook, we find time and again repeated in many pieces of the great saint. There is a famous Kalyana Vasanta piece, Nadalolude. Here, Tyagaraja exhorts his mind to attain the highest spiritual bliss by losing itself in Nada, Brahmananda, through Nada. And this Nada is associated with various ragas, and it is manifested by 7 notes. Then there is another Devagandhari piece, Sida Swara Sangeeta. Here, Tyagaraja looks upon music as a gift of God, which qualifies a person to become a realized soul. a Saramati piece that's very famous, Mokshamogalada. Here Tyagaraja asks the question, is it possible to anybody except the Jivan Mukta to attain salvation? It is indeed difficult to reach the higher realms of divine consciousness without a proper knowledge of divine music combined with true devotion. There are many such pieces. The Andolika piece, that is also very famous, Raga Sudharasa. That contains the exhortation, O mind, drink the nectar of the ragas and attain the fruits of yaga, yoga, tyaga, and bhoga. The alliteration is very beautiful. Yaga, Tyagaraja had not much admiration for the ordinary type of rituals. So he has got something loftier than that there. Then he asserts that a person who comprehends the nature of nada, onkara and swara, as Sadashiva himself has done, is a realized soul, Jivan Mukta. So the idea of Jivan Mukta is a recurring theme in Tyagaraja's compositions. And there is yet another piece, Shobhillu Saptaswara, in Jaganmohini Raga. Here Tyagaraja is asking his mind to worship the beautiful goddess presiding over the 7 swaras. She is manifested through navel, heart, throat, tongue, and nose. She is embodied in Rigveda and Samaveda, and she is the heart of the Gayatri mantra. She shines in the minds of gods, holy persons, and Tyagaraja. That is how it concludes. So it is therefore quite natural that Tyagaraja cannot conceive of musical skill without a willingness to surrender in all humility to the Absolute. Coleridge also had such an idea when he said that the best music is always sacred, something like that. May not be related to a particular religion. Could be some sort of a religiosity. It could be a mystic feeling. That is what we find in great composers across the globe, like Beethoven. So music, according to Tyagaraja, without devotion is like body without a soul. In his Dhanyashi piece, Sangeeta Jnanamu Bhakti Vina, Tyagaraja declares that music without devotion will lead one astray. True spiritual music is a great art practiced by, he refers to sages and saints like Bhringi, Nadesha, Hanuman, etc. The worth of music is known only by a person who knows the right and wrong, the worthlessness of worldly wealth. Again, that is also a recurring theme. The famous Nidhichala Sugama reiterates his total disregard for material wealth. So then one has to conquer one's inner enemies like raga, dvesha, passion, anger, etc. So here, that's one very interesting thing. So Tyagaraja is underlying the importance of ethical purity as a prerequisite for sadhana or spiritual devotion. Without oneself becoming pure, one cannot think about further spiritual progress. And Tyagaraja, as I have pointed out, has mainly written on Rama. His own notion of Rama is very personal. And this Rama is also very interestingly portrayed as adept in music. So Valmiki mentions that in Valmiki Ramayana, Gandharve cha bhuvi shreshtaha. So Rama was quite proficient in music. So this trait is again and again referred to by Tyagaraja when he speaks about Rama as Sangeeta Lola, Gana Lola, Samagana Lola, Geeta Priya, Raga Rasika, Saptaswarachari, etc. There is a very beautiful piece, Sadhinchane, in Arabi, the Pancharatna piece. Here, Tyagaraja refers to Rama as the maintainer of musical tradition, Sangeeta Sampradaya Udu. That's also very interesting. Another Arabi piece, Nada Sudharasa, also refers to Rama. Here, Rama is portrayed as the very embodiment of the nectar of Nada and Rasa. Another deity, apart from Rama, who is referred to as embodiment of music is Shiva himself. There is a beautiful Sanskrit composition by Tyagaraja, Nada Tanu Manisham, in a very rare raga, Chittaranjini. Here, Tyagaraja describes Shiva as a very embodiment of Nada. Nada Tanum Anisham, Shankaram. He is described as the essence of Samaveda, and the seven suras are here described as born from the 5 phases of Shiva, Sadhyo, Jadadi, etc. Then there is another piece called Kaddanu Varigi Todi, very famous piece. Here, Professor Raghavan says that Tyagaraja insists on a well-trained voice, perfect shruti, spotless personal character, and faithfulness to tradition. These are the ingredients of a true musician. And that lofty ideal, which combines spiritual purity and musical proficiency, that is being reiterated time and again by Tyagaraja. So this type of musing we do not find in that marked degree in any other composer. So Tyagaraja was always autobiographical in his approach. Through his, he was not artificially writing some compositions. He was pouring out his inner soul through his compositions. So whatever was there in his mind, he has revealed to us through his compositions. This we have to understand when we are listening to or even playing a Tyagaraja piece.